What's going on YouTube? It's true that the typical family vehicle has shifted from sedans to crossovers in recent years, but it cannot be ignored just how popular midsize sedans remain. As many rivals have dropped out of this segment, the iconic Honda Accord has just moved to an all-new generation. And one of its biggest rivals is ready to escalate the rivalry once again. This is the heavily refreshed Hyundai Sonata, which has a lot of new tricks to take on the Accord head-to-head. So, which midsize sedan is the best combo of style, space, and features? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So for this face-off comparison, let's begin by quickly establishing the selected trim levels. This time around, we wanted to keep with the mainstream mid-level trims that most people buy. So for the Accord, that is the Sport trim. The price is just under $33,000 for 2024 to start, and then just under $34,000 after destination. For the refreshed Sonata, we have the SEL with Convenience package in its newly simplified trim structure. As we often see, the Hyundai will be less expensive than its Japanese rival, with a total price of $31,750. By the way, if you're interested in buying either of these two, heading to carconfections.com/newcarquotes will help you find the best price in your local area as well as show you invoice pricing. A link is in the description if you want to find out more. Now, as far as this comparison, it will be conducted objectively. We have done our best to weigh the points awarded throughout in major and minor categories, but at the end of the comparison, we will sum up with our thoughts and revisit that price difference for a value assessment. But now, let's get into it. As soon as you walk up to these two, you will see designs that focus a lot on looking sporty and premium. The new Accord's grille has a simple look to it, but it's still fairly bold with the black mesh. The new Sonata, though, is much more angular, with bold lines and shapes everywhere. The other element that really stands out is the lighting. We have a large light bar across the front, which serves as a DRL and a turn signal indicator, while the headlights themselves are separated down below. The Accord is much more conventional here, and it is worth noting that it uses reflector LED headlights instead of a more premium projector LEDs on the Hyundai. Moving along to the sides, their considerable lengths contribute to how sleek they look. The Honda has a couple extra inches of length, so we will see later on if that helps with its interior space, but until then, they have very sharply styled alloy wheels on both, although they are an inch larger on the Honda. And then in the back, the interesting designs continue, and the features are also very similar. On these trims, exhaust outlets are hidden. We have small spoilers, and the taillights are mostly LED, everything besides for the reverse light on the Sonata. Now, as far as other features, both models' mirrors have built-in blind spot monitoring, but only the Sonatas are heated. And then as far as all the other safety systems, both of them include every active safety feature as standard equipment on all versions. The last thing I want to mention on the outside is that the warranty coverage is significantly longer on the Hyundai, and it includes an extra year of complimentary maintenance. But you'll be spending most of the time inside the cabin, so let's check out those. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Walking up to the vehicles, both have smart entry systems with built-in remote start, even though the Hyundai's fob looks like something out of a spaceship. And after opening up the doors, just like on the outside, you're going to see a futuristic design on the new Sonata, while both of them look fairly upscale. There are tons of differences throughout, but before we get into each of them, let's talk about the seats. While both of them are power adjusting and made of cloth, only the Sonata includes heated seats, which seems like an important feature to mention this time of year especially. Now that we've climbed inside, let's look at the overall cabin and talk about the quality of the materials. The doors both shut with authority, and we have high quality plastics and leatherette covering all the common touch points. Overall, both are well executed and roughly the same. After firing up the cars, you'll be greeted by customizable digital gauge clusters. The Hyundai's is part of a new dual screen arrangement and comes in at 12.3 inches versus 10.2 in the Honda. The steering wheels are leather wrapped, manual adjusting, and not heated until you move further up the trim structures. But now let's get into interior storage, because there are some interesting things to note here. Even though Honda is usually the king of storage, the relocation of Hyundai's shifter allows it to match the Accord in console and front storage space. But Accord doesn't match the wireless phone charging pad in the front storage unless you get the top touring trim. Heading to the shifters, neither of them have the push-button style shifters like they used to, and in the case of the Sonata, it's now relocated to the steering column. Once in reverse, both have cameras with good resolution, as well as active trajectory and electronic parking brakes. I'm happy to report that both of these mid-level trims actually have dual-zone automatic climate controls with very high-quality knobs. And speaking of knobs, let's twist the volume knobs to sample the audio systems. Ultimately, both of them sound perfectly adequate for the price point, and if you want something better, they offer Bose upgrades on top trim levels. Now, moving to the infotainment systems, this is a place where the Sonata is playing catch-up to the Accord. It now has a 12.3-inch screen just like the Accord for 2024. And both of them have very impressive displays in terms of the resolution and responsiveness. The critical functionality, though, is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay that both models now have for 2024. And wrapping up the front, the Sonata includes an auto-dimming rearview mirror, as well as a panoramic sunroof, which is not offered on the Accord. But now let's head into the rear areas, which are historically where Honda is always the strongest. Indeed, the Accord's extra length comes in handy, with about 8% more rear legroom, and it even has 7% more headroom. If you're looking for sheer size, the Accord is the biggest midsize sedan money can buy. The space is a big highlight for both of the models, since you don't have a bunch of amenities on these mid-level trims. Neither of them have vents, but the Sonata does have USB ports for charging devices. Now moving on to the trunks, the Accord prevails here as well, with the largest trunk space in the segment. But it doesn't beat the Sonata by much, and it's less than the 5% difference required to score a point. What does score a point, though, is the fact that the Sonata has a spare tire. But you know what time it is now. We are going to take this fight to the streets. As we go out on the road, you're going to find some really big differences with the powertrains. That's because if you want any more than just a basic level of equipment for the Accord, it comes exclusively as a hybrid, and that includes the sport trim. Sonata also offers hybrid models, but only the top limited trim is exclusively hybrid, and this SEL with convenience package is gas only. So now that you know why, the Sonata has a traditional 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with 191 horsepower, and the Accord has a 2-liter 4-cylinder with dual electric motors good for 204 horsepower. As you would expect, that means the Accord is quite a bit faster, especially when factoring in that 247 pound-feet of torque.
Nice.
Alright, there we are. 60 miles per hour in the Accord Sport. So of course the big thing with this next generation Accord is the fact that most of the trim levels are going to be hybrid exclusive this year, and pretty much most of the trim levels that you're going to want to buy, just the lower two, are the gas powered exclusively. So that does mean we've got more power than the previous hybrid system because we've got the new generation, the fourth generation of Honda's two-motor hybrid system. 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque. Like I said, both of those are going to be up from the previous generation of the hybrid system. Alright, and there we are accelerating up to 60 miles per hour in this 2024 Hyundai Sonata. My mind almost said all new because it does feel like an all new product in many ways.
Especially inside this cabin.
Yeah, for sure. But what you really want to know about, of course, is the powertrains. And we really have a lot to discuss because this model, as we mentioned at the spec dump, has 3 different available powertrains. Used to have 4 available powertrains, and they have gotten rid of one of them for 2024. Now, the other aspect of the powertrain is the transmission. We have an 8-speed automatic in the Sonata and a form of an eCVT in the Accord Hybrid. While the Accord does have shift simulations, YouTube comments clearly show that most people prefer the regular stepped feel of a traditional automatic transmission. What you do have on board is basically a eCVT, you could call it. It's not really a traditional CVT, but it does have performance kind of like a CVT. But the good thing that Honda has done here, compared to the previous generation, is add a nice shift simulation. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the transmission, of course, the other aspect of the powertrain. Each of the things we talked about also have their own individual transmission. This is an 8-speed automatic, a conventional automatic. If you choose a sedan these days, you are probably wanting the more agile and maneuverable feel of a crossover. Both are pretty good, but if you want a real athletic feel on the Sonata, the N-Line is recommended. Meanwhile, the Accord Sport has the Honda Sporty heritage baked right in, with excellent balance and fast responding steering. So I went ahead and clicked the Accord into sport mode now that we're out on a canyon road here in California. And, historically this has been one of my favorite things about the Accord is that it puts driving dynamics a lot higher than some of the competition. Honda is always really good about kind of baking in those good handling characteristics, and the previous generation was very impressive in that regard. Now, behind the wheel of this new generation, I have to say I'm very happy with this as well. We're kind of going around some corners here and I'm getting a feel of things, and I'm really liking what I'm feeling. We have great balance, very good body control, almost no body roll. Ride quality wise, they are both quite comfortable. But when it comes to quietness in the cabins, the Sonata has a slight advantage. A 1 decibel change is considered perceptible by the average adult, and that's exactly what the Sonata beats the Accord by.
So here we are, 55. Pretty impressive. There we are, sitting at 56.6 decibels. Sitting at 55.6 decibels as our official Car Confections sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour.
Finally, as you might have predicted, it's the hybrid Accord that has the fuel economy advantage. It gets 15 miles per gallon better combined, which translates to a whole lot of savings over the time you own it. But as we move into the value section, the fuel savings is somewhat offset by the higher price. The Accord costs $2,240 more than the Sonata in this test, meaning that when we award 1 point per $1,000 of difference, we add 2 points to the Sonata. This price correction takes into account the pretty affordable price tags of these models today. But as always, I will remind you that if money doesn't matter as much to you, then feel free to disregard these points. So there you have it. This was a close race between 2 of the best midsize sedans on the market. But now let's talk about who should be your personal winner based on what you value the most. So the Accord should be your personal winner if you want the maximum rear seat and cargo space, if you value that reputation of Honda reliability, or if you're just a hybrid fan in general because they have more trims that are available with hybrids and better MPGs.
Now, the Sonata on the flip side should be your choice if you value the more affordable price tag. Even having more equipment, this Sonata does come in quite a bit cheaper than the Honda Accord, and like I mentioned, it does give you more features for the money. For example, heated seats are included on this Sonata, whereas the Sport Honda Accord does not include that. It also has a little bit of a bolder design, so if you appreciate that, you certainly will maybe like the Sonata better. But we want to know your all's thoughts down in the comments below. Are you taking the Honda Accord, the tried and true midsize sedan, or are you taking the Hyundai Sonata with that new bold design? Let us know what you think down below. And if you're looking to buy either of these midsize sedans or any new vehicle for that matter, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you'd go there is because we have a tool on our website that connects you with local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth comparison. If you enjoyed watching this or found it helpful, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us to make more comparisons like this, as well as our other types of content, like full reviews and auto show content. So if you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.